Okay, just to back up a second. So you know how in episode 8, Oliver's all for torture, and in the flashback, he's learning about torture and things and all that during the Flash crossover episode. So yeah, still do that stuff, and when the mission goes south with Hive and stuff, when and everyone's with Argus and they're going up against Hive and Captain Boomerang and shit, and the whole thing with Huntress and Clark Kent that I talked about, have Oliver get captured by Hive and then get tortured and then brainwashed into joining Hive. So it would turn the whole like torture thing on its head, sort of. So it'd be like, well, at first Oliver was all for torture and things, but then he had torture used against him, and he realizes that it's inhumane and it's bad and all this other shit, right? And of course, have him get brainwashed, but there's also an element of like Oliver actually does believe in their philosophy and stuff like that. So okay, so getting back to where I was. So yeah, Merlin is um he's gonna get in this big fight with Sensei because he's gonna backstab Sensei because it's gonna turn out that he was like a double agent and that he didn't really like want to like kill um, Ra's al Ghul and in order to get the blood debt paid or whatever. Or you can play it as like maybe Sensei didn't look like he was gonna win the whole big conflict or whatever, and Merlin decides to just join the winning team, sort of thing. So he gets in a fight with Sensei. Um, uh, you can have him like I was thinking you can do this thing where like Sensei's such a badass, just and he's like beating Merlin because Sensei's just more badass than he is. But you can do that thing where like Oliver, you know how when Oliver was fighting Merlin the season 1 finale, where he like Merlin like Oliver shoots the arrow at Merlin, Merlin catches it in the air, and then it ends up being a trick arrow and it blows up in his hand. Do that thing with, except for have it be Merlin who shoots the trick arrow at Sensei. Sensei catches it and it blows up in Sensei's hand. Because that would be like a cool callback to season 1. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. I know that's not really a big story thing, but I was just like, that would be like a little cool moment you can throw in there. Um, so eventually, yeah, Merlin defeats Sensei, kills him, and Ra's al Ghul, calls off the hit on Merlin because he saved him or whatever. It's like, I don't know, set it up somehow where, like, Ra's knows Sensei was gonna kill him and Merlin saved him or something. So Laurel takes exception to this, that, suddenly, Merlin is just absolved of everything, and, they're just, essentially, they're letting the guy who killed Tommy off the hook. Remember Tommy? He doesn't seem to get mentioned a whole lot, unless you throw him in a random flashback for no good reason. Um, so she's not, happy with Nisa, and Nisa tells Laurel that, sometimes things aren't black and white and all that cliched shit. And, Laurel, she has a falling out with Huntress and Nisa and all that. And that's kind of where we leave Merlin. I guess Merlin would also be free again to go off and do whatever the hell he wants, and I guess he would again try to pursue destroying the Glades because his job's not finished, and I don't see why he would stop pursuing that goal since he was so fanatical about it. I don't know why you would just like it would just be dropped. You know what I mean? So I guess that's where you would go forward with his character into the following season. Um, So yeah. So in the last episode, so that would be like the episode prior to the finale. So in the season finale, you know, Oliver eventually comes to his senses, and as you know, you would expect, I guess, and you know, maybe you would maybe have maybe something like maybe like Roy is on the Hive or something. Like maybe Roy finds out the truth about Diggle's brother or something, and then he reveals it to Oliver, and then maybe like Hive they like make up some bullshit where like, oh well, you have to kill Roy. Roy's a snitch, and he's or something. I don't know, something like that, right? And he decides that he's gonna choose his friend over Hive or something like that. I don't know. So anyway, so yeah, Oliver comes to his senses, and then the band gets back together. Roy, Laurel's back from her thing with the birds of prey. Diggle, Felicity, Argus, they all get together. They take on Hive again, big rematch, and they stop Hive once and for all. And Oliver decides that, and Lila and Diggle decide they're not going to work with Argus anymore. They're going to stop with all these, joining these factions and groups and shit, and that he's going to, Oliver's going to put his friends first. Team Arrow. They're going to be his number one priority, not all these warring factions with the League and the Hive and Argus and all that shit. So I was worried about his friends first. And I guess that kind of harkens a little bit to that Justice League Unlimited episode where they're trying to get him to join the Justice League, and he's not for it and stuff like that. Like, keep that like independent part of his character. Like, he Oliver Queen's not the type to join like a big team, he's kind of his own thing. He's more of like a solo act, like, or for the most part, or at least that that's at least his ideology anyway. So since this is kind of an origin story, this is kind of like his big that's where he kind of comes to that revelation. That's where it comes from. This whole fiasco gets involved with Hive and stuff. So we get to the end. So everything, sunshine and rainbows. But then Oliver's hanging out with his company for some reason, whatever. And then Simon LaCroix shows up, aka Komodo, and he tells Oliver that the League is part of a much bigger conflict. And he's alluding to the Outsiders War. So, in this universe, so you know how I was complaining about how they never tell you what the fuck the League of Assassins is in the show? Well, let's use that to our advantage here. See, we're going to now make it look like they were purposefully not telling the audience, because this is where it's going to be revealed. And since we're going to try to make this, put our own spin on, the Green Arrow mythos here, and, fuck it, I don't care that this is not how it is in the fucking comics. I don't care. Because this fucking show has already shit on the comic book canon enough. So I don't think this would be too much of a stretch. But for purposes of this universe, and since we're trying to like I said, put our spin on the Green Arrow mythos. We're gonna try to make this show a Green Arrow show, not a fucking Batman show. It's gonna be revealed that the League of Assassins is one of the weapon clans from the Jeff Lemire run of Green Arrow. Now you may say, well, okay, well, what weapon clan would they be? Who gives a shit? We'll figure it out. Who cares, right? Maybe they're the weapon clan. Who knows? Or maybe they started off as a weapon clan, but then they broke off from the group, the main group, and they became known as the League of Assassins because they want to differentiate themselves or whatever at some point. And then they just started learning all disciplines of weapons and shit. But that's why I said earlier how so the idea was whoever was the head of the league, in this case would be Ra's al Ghul, they would have possession of the league, or I guess it would be the clan's weapon totems, because that would be like the symbol for whether who was the figurehead, who was the leader, would have kind of control of the weapon totem. And I don't know. I don't know if you'd still do the thing where like the green arrow, like you'd have the literal green arrow be the weapon totem of the Arrow clan, and that like the green arrow has mystical property. I don't know if you go that far, but I play it as more of like it's just symbolic. Like whoever is the head of the clan wields the weapon totem of the clan. So that would set up the next season. So in the next season, you essentially be doing the Jeff Lemire run on Green Arrow. So LaCroix, reveals himself. He's Komodo. He's part of the Arrow clan. You have to screw around with the mythos a little bit because Robert Queen couldn't be the head of the Arrow clan and all that stuff. You have to change some of that shit. And obviously Robert Queen's dead, so Komodo can't kill him eventually. But figure it out, right? You can get it to work somehow, right? It's not one of these things like an Arrow season 3 where they try to force things and it looks convoluted as hell. Like, you can get it to work. And so do that. So have them, you can't have Shadow there because Shadow's dead, so I don't know. You can have a Miko there. Certainly you could still have a Miko as like Oliver's half sister. That would still work. So have him go back to the island or whatever, like in the comics. I don't know if he'd have to go back to the island. Go somewhere else anyway, somewhere other than Starling City, like in the comics, and deal with the Outsiders War. Meanwhile, you got Felicity and Diggle, and I guess Roy. They're dealing with what's going on in Starling City, and you do just like in the comics, where you have this big team up between Richard Dragon, which you're gonna set up in this season. Richard Dragon, Clock King, because we got him out of prison this season. Brick, Count Vertigo, and help me out here. What's the other guy? Killer Moth, yeah. And I guess you can even throw Merlin in there, I guess now. So Diggle, Roy, Felicity, and I suppose Thea, you had to figure out something to do with her, are dealing with that, and this threat posed by Richard Dragon, these villains he has team up. And meanwhile, you have Oliver dealing with the Outsiders War. He deals with the Outsiders War, goes back to Starling City, and helps his friends deal with Richard Dragon and the villains he has team up. There you go. There's your 4th season. Or at least, you could do a good chunk of season 4 could have been that. But, hey, maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself there on that one. Next video, talk about an idea I kind of bullshitted for the flashbacks, which, it's something. It's better than nothing. Come on, guys. They painted me in a corner here. Amanda Waller, Oliver Queen, in Hong Kong. So, I have to work with that. So, that'll be next time.